Testing, test. All right, so we're live. Seth, are we live? Okay, welcome back to Nuggets on the Go Season 2, episode number 7. We've been receiving a couple of emails to our insights@prb.sg email account. Thank you for your emails and hope that we have been happily communicating and answering some of the queries. Also keep the questions coming in because that is a dedicated email that myself and my senior team, we will do our best to reply to you individually based on some of the questions that you have regarding real estate in Singapore, regarding some of the topics that we are discussing or we were discussing in some of the previous episodes. Now, this time around, episode number 7, what we want to talk on Nuggets on the Go is that we want to talk about what is the key fundamental mindset that we need to adopt if, let's say, we're in the midst of transiting from our current primary residence property to our next home for our family. Because right now what is happening in the market, if you have been following us on the previous last 2 episodes, we've been talking about the fact that 2021 is the year that we are in the seller's market. Being in the seller's market, that means that there are different ways of timing your sale and purchase for your primary residence. And that's a very important fundamental kind of technique to understand, because if we don't adopt the right kind of mindset, sometimes it's very difficult for us to switch homes, to upgrade to the next property, to switch location, or maybe our kids are moving on to their new primary school and we want to make sure that we get a property that is being near to that vicinity. So seller's market, just to illustrate what is a seller's market. Now, seller's market by definition in our own terms is a market whereby technically we're on like a bull market. And that means that there are more demand than supply in the market. When there are more demand than supply, it means that there's a lower inventory in the market. And that means that on the secondary tier, it is a little bit harder to buy properties than it is to sell properties. So seller's market in short means that it's easier to sell but harder to buy. And we are talking about the resale market. And why do we talk about the resale market? Is because new launch market behaves a little bit differently. Of course, during hypes and sometimes properties get sold out during the first week and first 2 weeks and things like that. But we're discussing purely about the resale market, especially if you're hunting for a resale property. So buyer's market, on the flip side, it means that there's more inventory in the market, lesser demand. And that means that as a home seller, sometimes when you put a property in the market, there's lesser viewership. Maybe, every 2-3 weeks you get one viewing and you don't get that kind of like huge response from a lot of buyers in the market. In short, a buyer's market means that it's easier to purchase, it's easier to buy from the resale market, but it's a little bit harder to exit from your current property. But take note, there are micro segments because we received some questions on which market is currently in the seller's market, which market is in the buyer's market, because there'll be no blanket approach in the sense that when we talk about at current seller's market, there are certain types of properties that are moving on very quickly off the shelves in the resale market, but there are some type of properties that still takes time to move. And that purely depends on what kind of demand is in this segment. So right now, seller's market is happening for the more palatable kind of landed property kind of range. For example, inter-terraces are moving on very quickly. They're very popular, a lot of demand. Semi-detached homes as well, picking up a lot of steam also. Corner terraces also. But of course, if we talk about detached homes that is above a certain quantum, it will definitely still need some time to move, because as the quantum price of the property goes up, the population, or in terms of the buyer's audience, it will shrink towards the top portion. And usually at the base portion, there'll be a larger demand pool because more people can afford the entry level of landed properties. And thus, inter-terraces, semi-detached corner terraces, they are right now in the seller's market mode. Now, if we move on to the condominium segment, if you ask us what are we seeing on the ground, and based on some data that we have, larger properties, they are in the seller's market mode. But that is only happening for a certain quantum range. For example, properties that's above 1,500 square feet, above 2,000 square feet, but below 3 million, they're moving on very quickly. And that also depends on certain micro segments, because some districts are moving faster than the other districts. So if you want to understand a little bit more, you can drop us an email, or you can subscribe to our propertylimbrothers.com/insights, where we talk into different segments and districts by detail. But right now, For today's episode, I also want to share with you this research that we have just done and completed. So let me just move you on to my laptop screen. We actually calibrate properties based on the bedroom types. So there are a few parameters. Is that this is going to help you to very easily and quickly search for which projects are within a 500 meters radius from MRT stations. And in fact, we have covered all the MRT stations in Singapore. So you can get to see like Thomson, East Coast Line, Downtown Line, North-South Line. Just skip this Bukit Panjang MRT. All right, so North-East Line as well. So for example, you'll be able to see based on the MRT line, what are the properties within a 500 meters radius, whether is it freehold 99 years, tenure start date, the year of TOP. And what is, I think, very precious is that right now in most of the platforms online, it's very hard to identify this project has how many bedrooms. You want to see the one bedder, what is the size range? For example, like Dorset Residences, which is at the Outram Park MRT, 500 meters radius. You get to see that it's been completed 2013. There are 1, 2, and 3 bedders. And then the size of one bedders are from 484 to 678 square feet. All right, so what we have done is that we have also classified them based on asking prices right now and asking per square foot prices. Now, why do we want to classify the different types of projects near to the 500 meters radius of the MRT station based on asking prices? Because when you want to see what is the current situation in the market, it's always good to know what is the current asking price of what the sellers are asking at right now, rather than looking at the transacted prices. Because transacted prices, we always have to understand how did the transacted prices get flowed into the URA database, Reallist, and different platforms and things like that. Is because after a property is being negotiated, sellers and buyers agree on free will on the price. They pen down on the OTP, wait for the option period to be exercised 1421 or maybe 30 days later. And then when they pay the stamp duty, it gets lodged later on in URA. And thus, this entire process probably is already 2 months later. So what you're seeing is data that has been in the market for maybe between 2 to 3 months. And these are the prices that was back then, perhaps in the last quarter. But when you look at asking prices right now, what are the prices of properties being listed on portals and things like that, you get a sense of the ground feel of the properties. Because when you're in a fast-moving market, sometimes when you want to buy a property, you find that it's increasingly difficult in the sense that the asking price is usually much higher than the transacted pricing. And all of us own properties, and we are all in the process of exiting and buying another property for our family if it's our primary residence. And sometimes when we look at what has been transacted and we look at the next property that we want to buy, and we sense that, hey, it's getting a little bit difficult to negotiate, to buy. It seems like, I view this property this weekend. Next weekend, when I call back the listing agent, and then the property has been sold within 1 week and things like that. And then if this happens consistently for about 2 to 3 months, you will start to worry as a home seller. You will think that, hey, I'm a little bit worried that, if I sell my property now, will I be able to buy something that I like? And that is a constant struggle that all of us has as home sellers. So in a fast-paced market, what then should be the right mindset that we need to adopt as a home seller trying to exit and buy at the same time? Now, we first have to understand the psychology of all home sellers on the ground. Because we are a home seller trying to exit. The next house that we're trying to buy from, that family is also selling their home and trying to exit and buy another home. And thus, our mindsets are the same. We all have the same worry. We're a little bit worried about whether can we find the right home. And there are 2 ways of doing this. Way number 1 is that I start hunting for a home first. I see something I like. I start negotiating. I put down an option fee. I try to negotiate with the seller of the home that I want to buy to give me a longer option period, maybe a 3, 4, 5, 6 months. But in exchange for that, definitely in the market practice, you have to put on a higher amount of option fee in order to compensate for the opportunity cost that the seller has to take to wait for you. Because, for example, if you negotiate and ask for 6 months option period, you say that, hey, I'm trying to sell my home. Is it okay? I put in a higher option fee, maybe 3-4%, and then you wait for me for 6 months. There's always a risk that the other party has to take, because if after 6 months, if you decide not to buy, or your home is not sold, or you have a change of plans, your option money will be forfeited, and that is a risk you have to take as a home buyer for that next home. But the other party will forfeit the 6 months that they have waited for you. And maybe by then, in the fast-moving market, the property that they want to buy has also appreciated. to a different level. So everybody has a certain risk to partake in a sense. But what is the actual feel on the ground is that because if let's say the next property you're buying is a fast moving kind of asset, let's say you're going for inter terrace, and in that district, maybe inter terrace is very, very popular. The seller might not be that willing to go for a kind of arrangement like this with a very long option period. Maybe they will prefer, if they have a lot of viewings every weekend, maybe 5 viewings per day, per day, per day, and within a month they clock in, like 30, 40 viewings. They definitely will have more choices. And when they look at all the offers on the table, they will definitely be preferring to taking offers that have a normal completion kind of range, like 14, 21 days option period, 12 weeks completion, so that they themselves can also go and hunt for their next home. So all of us are trying to exit and purchase, and we're trying to avoid 2 things. Number one is ABSD, right? We need to exit first, then we exercise the option for the new place so we don't have to pay the ABSD. Number 2 is that the TDSR. We need to exit first, make sure a buyer place in the option exercise fee for our current property, and then we purchase the next home. Then we can take on the 75% loan for the next home. So all of us are trying to achieve these 2 things. And the moment your offer comes in as a little bit more lengthened, it disadvantages your offer strength. This approach used to work very well in a buyer's market. That means when properties are harder to exit, it worked very well because sellers trying to exit their property, they are willing to accommodate more. Similarly, let's say if you are a home seller, you're trying to sell a property, if you are finding it very difficult to exit, you will definitely be willing to negotiate a little bit more leeway for the next home buyer, right? But if let's say week after week, there's so many viewings, so many offers coming in, you definitely will prefer offers that are more beneficial for you in terms of timeline. And thus, the second method in the seller's market will be to continue hunting, but always note that you have to start the marketing of your home concurrently, because it must take cue from the buyer that is planning to buy your home. So a buyer must be willing to pay an option fee, exercise the option, and that gives you the green light, because the moment the buyer exercises the option for your home, it frees you up from the ABSD and the LTV for the next home, and then you can then put in the option fee for the next home. And this is a vicious cycle, because if let's say I'm a home seller, I'm always adopting a mindset that, hey, I want to make sure that I put in an option fee, I lock in my next home, then I accept an offer for my home. Then you will always be a vicious cycle, because the seller for the next home will find it very hard to agree to your terms if your option period is so long, 3 to 6 months. And thus, second method is that let's focus on the marketing. The moment I achieve the option exercise fee for my home, it frees me up, and thus it increases my ability to negotiate for my new home. And then when I negotiate, I can always negotiate for a normal completion, normal option period. And thus, this is a more, I would say, fluid motion when it comes to a seller's market. When it's a buyer's market, then you have to go back to step number 1, which is to go for a longer option period first to secure and then sell your home. But also it depends, because even in the condo market, there are 1, 2, 3, and 4 bidder. They are not all in the seller's market, right? You can email us. We will share with you which category of bedroom types, in which district, which area, or which project is in the seller's market mode. We can share with you our ground feel and our statistics. Coming back to this analysis based on MRT line, and going back to why we want to term it based on asking prices, asking PSF. And I think the bedroom type is going to help you to identify the projects better. If you want to gain access to this data that our research team has done, you can click on the link below. That's going to bring you to a page. And basically, all you need to do is to subscribe to our Telegram channel to support us. And this Telegram channel is a new channel that will be dedicated for PLB Insights research articles. They're going to bring you to our full-blown article on our webpage as well. And also subscribe to our newsletter. So we're going to update you weekly via email, some of the latest research that we have, our team has done up. So click on the link. The moment you subscribe, and what we'll do is that we're going to email you the report for free. There's no charge on this. It's basically to help you, to value add to you. All we need is your support to continue to watch our content on Propertylimbrothers, just to support us a little bit, give encouragement to our research team, because they're putting a lot of hours and hard work behind the scenes to come up with all this data and research. So it will definitely help them and help us as a team. The final thing that we'll talk about today is that in terms of selection of properties, now we all understand Now, resale market is a little bit hot. We talked about that in the last episode as well. We think that there will come a time that the new launch pricing and resale is going to catch up a little bit, probably towards the end of this year. Recently, I've realized that, no, not say realized, I mean, I think that sometimes when we look at the selection of properties, there's one very key consideration. Now, what is the definition of risk when it comes to real estate investing or real estate purchase, even as a primary home? Of course, we have our needs for our family, schools, near to parents, workplace, and most importantly, family must be happy, and it must be a financial kind of prudency approach when it comes to purchasing a property. Long-term commitment, you're going to invest and a lot of your hard-earned money, savings. Thus, it's always very important to be prudent. Do not overstretch oneself. But the definition of risk is that when we purchase a property that does not appreciate in the mid to long term, we define it as having a higher risk than selecting a property that has more chances of appreciation in the mid to long term. Because the longer we stretch and you realize that, hey, after 10, 15 years, why is it that my property is not appreciating at all, or maybe not appreciating much compared to the rest, then the risk of your property is technically higher. And thus, the definition of risk is really about whether does this property has more appreciation potential than the rest of the property in the same radius of maybe about 1 kilometers or 2 kilometers, or maybe in the same district. And thus, we think that this is one nugget that we want to just share with you guys. And we've come to the end of episode number 7. And just to sum up, we talk about having this free report, knowing the 500 meters radius in the entire Singapore MRT line stations. What are the projects around the radius of each MRT line? We've done that for you. Our research team broke down into bedroom types, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bedrooms, PSF range, asking prices, quantum price, asking prices. If you want this free report, click on the link down below. That is going to lead you to our page. Second thing is, of course, the mindset as a home seller, concurrently selling and buying. And last but not least, definition of risk. And we hope that this episode adds value to you. I'm going to see you on episode number 8. And meantime, take care. My name is Melvin Lim, Propertylimbrothers. See you soon. To the real estate scenes in Singapore. All right. Now, next topic that I want to talk about. What's the next topic? Okay. I'll just key in the topic's headline. Okay.